hope you're staying safe. Today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing rational expressions. But before I show you examples of multiplying and dividing rational expressions, let's recall how to multiply a regular fraction and how to divide a regular fraction. So first we're going to do multiplication. Now what you want to do is you want to multiply the numerators and then get a solution, and multiply the denominators and get a solution in the denominator. But notice I've got numbers in the numerator and in the denominator that divide into each other. For example, this 3, I can divide 3 by 9, and I can divide 3 by 3. So I need to reduce first. So I'm going to reduce this 3 by 3 and get a 1. I'm going to reduce this 9 by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then I do the same thing to 2 and 4. I can reduce both of those by a factor of 2. So I'm going to reduce 2 by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now let's rewrite this. Okay, what I'm left with is 1/2, because that's what's left in the numerator here. A 1 and a 2 here. Times 1 over 3. 1 over 3. So now that everything's nice and reduced, we can go ahead and multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1 in the numerator, and 2 times 3 is 6 in the denominator. So I get an answer of 1/6. And now we're going to do the same thing with division. Now the only difference between multiplication and division is we need to change the division symbol into a multiplication symbol and then take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Not the first fraction, the second fraction, the fraction we're dividing by. So we're going to rewrite this. The first one is still going to be the same. Remember, now we're dividing fractions. So we're still going to have 3/5. We're going to change division to multiplication. We're going to take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we're going to write 25 over 12. And now, just like we reduced before, we're going to reduce again. In the numerator, I have 3. In the denominator, I have a 12. I can reduce both of those numbers by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is a 1, and 12 divided by 3 is a 4. And then I do the same thing to 5 and 25. 5 reduces by 5, and I'm left with 1. 25 reduces by 5, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. So we're left with 1 over 1 times 5 over 4. And now we multiply across. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 4 is 4. So we get 5/4. So this is how you multiply fractions and how you divide fractions. Okay. Next, I'll show you how to multiply a monomial fraction. Okay, so here we have example 1. We're going to do multiplication of rational expressions, and we're going to be using monomials. Remember, a monomial only has one term. So, first, we're going to check, can I reduce? And notice right here, I have a 9, and right here I have a 3. So I can reduce both of these by 3. Here I have a 2, here I have a 4. I can reduce both of those by 2. Now, another thing you can do is you can reduce a variable. Here I have a y, and here I have a y. So I have y to the second overall in the numerator, and here I have a y to the 5th. So I can reduce all of these by y. So let's go ahead and reduce. First, we're going to reduce this 3 by 3, and we get a 1. We're going to reduce this 9 by 3, and we get a 3. We're going to reduce this 2 by 2 and get a 1. We're going to reduce this 4 by 2 and get a 2. Now, we're going to reduce the y's. I have 1, 2 y's in the numerator, and then I have y to the 5th in the denominator. So I have more y's in the denominator. I have y times y times y times y times y. I've got y to the 5th power in the denominator. So I can reduce both of these y's by y, leaving me with 1. And then since I reduced 2 of them, I'm going to reduce 2 from the 5 in the exponent in the y, and that's going to leave me with an exponent of 3, because 5 minus 2 is 3. We subtract how many y's we reduce. I reduced 1 here, another 1 here, so that's 2. So I'm left with y to the 3rd. So let's go ahead and simplify this. I have 3 times 1, that's just going to be 3, over 1 times y to the 3rd. So that's just going to be y to the 3rd. Times 2 times 1 is 2 over just 1. And now we can multiply across. 3 times 2 is 6 over y to the 3rd. And that is our product. That is the product of 9y over 2y to the 5th times 4y over 3, fully reduced and simplified. Okay, here we have example 2. We are multiplying rational expressions. This time we're using binomials. Okay, so when you have a binomial or a trinomial or any polynomial that has more than one term, we need to check to see if we can factor any of the polynomials. So we need to check, can we factor 4x plus 32? Can we factor x minus 9? And so on. So we're going to start with 4x plus 32. So we're going to rewrite everything and we're going to factor it as we go. I can factor out a 4 from 4 and 32. So we're going to factor out 4, parentheses. That's going to leave us with x plus 32 divided by 4 is 8. So we have 4 times x plus 8. In the denominator, x minus 9. There's nothing to factor there, so we're just going to rewrite x minus 9. So now we put our times, and then we're going to write our second rational expression. 5x minus 45. I can factor out a 5. So I'm going to write 5. I'm going to open a parentheses. 5x divided by 5 is just x, minus 45 divided by 5 is 9. And then we close that parentheses, over. And now we go to the denominator, 8x plus 64. I can factor out an 8 here. So we're going to write an 8, open a parentheses, 8x divided by 8 is just x, plus 64 divided by 8 is also 8. And we're done factoring. Now we need to check if we can reduce. So we're going to check top and bottom, and crossways. See if there's anything to reduce. Now, in the numerator, I have a 4, and in the denominator over here, I have 8. Both of those reduced by 4. So I'm going to reduce 4 by 4 and get 1. I'm going to reduce 8 by 4 and get 2. And then 5 doesn't reduce with anything, so it's going to stay. But x plus 8 reduces with x plus 8. We're left with the 1, and we're left with the 1. X minus 9 reduces with x minus 9. So we're left with the 1 here, and we're left with the 1 here. So now if we simplify this, we're left with 1 times 1, so that's just 1 in the numerator, over another 1 in the denominator, times 5 times 1, so that'll be 5 in the numerator in the second fraction, and then 2 times 1, which will just be 2 in the denominator. And now we can multiply across. 1 times 5 is just going to be 5, over 1 times 2 is just 2, and this is our product.